The most legendary WWE feuds of all time. Daniel Bryan vs. The Authority. Corrupt authority figures have been a part of wrestling for decades, abusing their power and going out of their way to frustrate on-screen talent and fans. Therefore, when someone steps up to challenge their tyranny, you can count on some entertaining television. One of the most well-executed examples came about in the 2010s, featuring underdog and fan-favorite Daniel Bryan boldly stepping up to WWE's corporate overlords and their allies, known collectively as the Authority. This almost year-long story earned Pro Wrestling Illustrated's 2013 Feud of the Year award, and for good reason. It all began at SummerSlam 2013 when Triple H cost Bryan the WWE Championship. In the months that followed, Bryan would continue to clash with the game as well as his allies, Randy Orton and The Shield. However, with WrestleMania XXX on the horizon, the Authority began to shift its focus away from Bryan, who, as Bryan told Newsday, wasn't booked anywhere near the unified WWE World Heavyweight Championship or the main event. Nevertheless, his legions of devoted fans couldn't be ignored, leading him to wrestle and win 2 matches at the landmark event, the first against Triple H and the second against Orton and Batista. The Daniel Bryan Authority angle peaked with Bryan's WrestleMania 30 title win, since Bryan had to give up the title due to a neck injury after a lone defense against Kane at Extreme Rules 2014. It was an unceremonious end for a story that fans largely willed into existence, but as they say, sometimes it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Undertaker vs. Brock Lesnar. With a WWE career spanning 30 years, The Undertaker has engaged in feuds with a who's who of wrestling legends. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kane, and more found themselves across the ring from the dead man on numerous occasions, amounting to some incredible stories and confrontations for fans to enjoy. Still, few, if any, of Taker's notable rivalries are on the same level as the one between him and Brock Lesnar. Their matches weren't technical masterpieces, nor did both men lock up often, but few are quick to forget their bouts and the circumstances that led to them. Lesnar and The Undertaker's first encounters date back to 2002 and 2003, where they'd clash over the WWE Undisputed Championship. After their Bikers chain match at No Mercy 2003, they wouldn't square off one-on-one again until 2014. At WrestleMania XXX in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Beast Incarnate would do the unthinkable, pin The Undertaker clean, ending his 21-0 undefeated streak at the event. Determined to regain his honor, Taker took the fight to Lesnar at SummerSlam 2015 in a winning effort, but would lose their last match at Hell in a Cell 2 months later. While their series of matches in the early 2000s certainly had their highlights, The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar's 2015 program wasn't crowned Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Feud of the Year for nothing. It sent Lesnar on a championship-winning warpath, showed The Undertaker wouldn't go quietly after the end of his WrestleMania streak, and provided WWE audiences with a story like no other. John Cena vs. Randy Orton. Even in its final years, WWE's ruthless aggression era, which ran from approximately 2002 to 2008, continued to showcase memorable matches and feuds. Both Raw and SmackDown delivered in these regards, but the former found something really special in its program that pit John Cena against Randy Orton. They'd faced off before in tag and the occasional singles matches, but their rivalry didn't truly commence until 2007 when the two went head-to-head in a string of matches for the WWE Championship. However, Cena would sustain a pectoral injury that put the whole thing on hold for months on end. Unsurprisingly, that bump in the road wasn't enough to keep Cena out of commission for good. He'd reignite his feud with a more aggressive Orton on the road to WrestleMania XIV after making a shocking return at the 2008 Royal Rumble. Though they'd somewhat drift apart in the wake of WrestleMania, come 2009, they'd headline more pay-per-view events, such as Night of Champions, SummerSlam, and Breaking Point. This year proved the arguable peak of their rivalry, with Orton-Cena matches becoming a rarity as the 2010s wore on. John Cena and Randy Orton's feud throughout the late 2000s cemented both of them as top stars in WWE. Cena's superhuman comeback story and strong in-ring showings further proved he could be the face of the company, while Orton's transformation into the ruthless, twisted apex predator showed he was the perfect foil for the Cenation leader. Without this rivalry, neither of their careers would have been the same. Stone Cold Steve Austin vs. The Rock. When The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin first arrived in the WWF in 1996, both men struggled to find their footing. Known as Rocky Maivia and the Ringmaster, respectively, neither the fans nor the powers that be got behind them. With no other option, they both transformed their images for the better. The Rock embraced his ego side and started delivering physical and verbal whoopings, and Austin started drinking beers, stomping mudholes into his opponents, and giving the vile Mr. McMahon more than a few headaches. With the crowd behind them, it was only a matter of time before they crossed paths. When they did, it changed wrestling forever. Stone Cold and The Rock had their first singles match at 1997's D-Generation X, in Your House, but it was their trio of WrestleMania matches in subsequent years that fans really remember. At the height of the WWF's bold and envelope-pushing attitude era, they battled over the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 15 in 1999. Come 2001, at WrestleMania X7, they'd again meet on the grandest stage of them all for the title, with Stone Cold getting his hand held high by the final bell. Finally, at WrestleMania 19 in 2003, The Rock would overcome his rival at the Show of Shows, a match that served as Austin's in-ring farewell until he returned in 2022 to face Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38. Between their WrestleMania showdowns, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock would square off on various other pay-per-view cards as well as on Raw and SmackDown. In doing so, they and the WWF at large surged in popularity, helping the company overtake WCW during the Monday Night Wars and eventually put their competitor out of business. Not to mention, they set a new standard for what a wrestling feud could be, hence why their battles remain the subject of discussion and appreciation all these years later.